Ohio's map is dotted with names your GPS barely recognizes. Some don't show up at all. One town was cleared out overnight by the government and never rebuilt. Another has a tunnel where more than 20 people died. And there's a village so forgotten, its last standing building is a schoolhouse surrounded by cornfields. These places were real. People lived here. Now they're empty. Except for the stories that refuse to disappear. In this video, we are counting down 11 ghost towns in Ohio you were never meant to find, and if you make it to number 1, you'll understand why locals refuse to drive that road after dark. But before starting the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we have many similar videos on the way. Now let's move to our countdown. Number 11. Seagrove, Franklin County. Seagrove was located in southern Franklin County, in what's now part of southeast Columbus. The area sits just near Kenny Road and Lane Avenue in former Clinton Township. Back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, Seagrove was a small railroad community. It wasn't a bustling city, but it served as a home for rural families who farmed the land and used the train line to ship goods. A rail stop and a few homes marked the heart of the town. Over time, however, as Columbus expanded, it began absorbing these outlying settlements. Seagrove had no major industry or economic backbone, and without anything to hold it together, the town slowly dissolved into the growing suburbs. Today, Seagrove is no longer considered a town. It's more of a name on a street sign and a memory buried in old records. Seagrove Road still exists, and the area is now covered with modern homes, commercial buildings, and busy intersections. There are no historical markers, no ruins, and no preserved buildings, just subtle clues in street names and old plats that hint at what used to be. Even though the town is gone, you can still find Seagrove listed in property descriptions and zoning documents around Columbus. It's a rare example of a ghost town being paved over so completely that only paperwork remembers it. Number 10. Whitewater Shaker Village. Tucked in the farm country west of Cincinnati is a 200-year-old utopian experiment where time seems to have stopped. Follow the gravel lane and you'll find rows of plain brick buildings, orchards, and the quiet footsteps of a community that called itself Believers. Whitewater Shaker Village sits just outside the hamlet of New Haven in Crosby Township, southwest Ohio. The core 118-acre North Family Tract is now managed by Great Parks of Hamilton County, about 5 minutes off US 27. The Shakers founded the village in 1824, the last of 4 Shaker settlements in Ohio. At its peak in the 1850s, the community held close to 200 members living in 3 families. They farmed 700-plus acres, ran saw and grist mills, pressed cider, sold broomcorn brooms, and shipped thousands of packets of garden seed each year. Faith, work, and communal ownership shaped daily life until numbers dwindled. The village finally closed in 1916. Great Parks purchased the property in 1991. 23 original buildings still stand, including the 1827 Meeting House, the only brick shaker meeting house left in the United States. Volunteers with Friends of Whitewater Shaker Village lead weekend tours, restore structures, and maintain heirloom orchards so visitors can walk the same orderly grounds the Believers once tended. Each autumn, the site hosts evening lantern walks and history programs where guides share Shaker songs, superstitions, and the occasional tale of unexplained footsteps in the empty corridors, giving the peaceful village just the right hint of mystery. Number 9. De La Palma, Brown County. De La Palma was located in Brown County, just west of Mount Orab. The area today falls along Bardwell West Road, surrounded by open fields and farmland. This small settlement got its start in the mid-1800s as a rural community built around farming. It was never a booming town, but it had what every small village needed back then: a schoolhouse, a general store, and a few tight-knit families. The name De La Palma appears in records from the mid-1800s, though its exact origin is unclear. Some historians believe it may have been chosen for its poetic or foreign-sounding character, which was common in rural naming at the time. Like many small towns in Ohio, it didn't take much to begin its decline. As railroads and highways shifted trade routes and people moved toward cities, places like De La Palma slowly emptied. By the early 1900s, it had all but vanished from local maps. Today, De La Palma doesn't appear in GPS or even on most modern maps. But if you drive along Bardwell West Road, you might spot the last piece of it still standing. A lonely, one-room schoolhouse made of weathered brick. It's surrounded by fields now, with no homes or shops nearby, but that building holds a century of forgotten memories. According to historical records from Brown County, the schoolhouse served children from several surrounding farms well into the early 1900s. Even after the town faded, the school kept running for a while longer before finally shutting down for good. Locals say it's one of the oldest remaining rural schoolhouses in the region. Number 8. Hiburnia, Franklin County. Buried between apartment buildings and modern roads lies a forgotten piece of Ohio's past. A ghost town that still holds a small cemetery in the middle of a neighborhood. This is Hiburnia. Hiburnia once stood near what is now the intersection of Hamilton Road and East Broad Street, just outside Columbus in Franklin County. The land it once covered is now part of the Hiburnia Apartments complex. Hiburnia was established in the early to mid-1800s as a rural stagecoach stop. The town was small, but served as a resting point for travelers heading between Columbus and Zanesville. Like many early towns, it had a post office, a few homes, and a general store. It was never a major settlement, but it played a role in Ohio's early transportation network. Over time, the need for stagecoach stops faded, and Hiburnia began to decline. By the early 1900s, the town had almost completely disappeared, with only a few residents remaining. As Columbus grew outward, the land was repurposed for new development. Today, most of Hiburnia is gone, but not entirely. The Hiburnia Apartments now sit on the land where the town once stood, and right in the middle of the complex, a small fenced-in cemetery still remains. It contains the graves of early settlers, including veterans from the War of 1812. The gravestones are old and weathered, but they stand as a reminder that people once lived, worked, and died in this now vanished village. Even though Hiburnia is gone, its cemetery is protected and maintained. Residents of the apartment complex often walk past it, unaware that they're living on the land of a ghost town. It's one of the rare places in Ohio where a forgotten town lives quietly in the shadow of modern life. Number 7. Watts Mill, Beaver County. Hidden deep in the forest near a quiet creek lies what's left of a town powered by water and hard work. Watts Mill is located in South Beaver Township, Beaver County, Pennsylvania, just across the Ohio border from Columbiana County. It sits along Little Beaver Creek, downstream from Beaver Creek State Park. Although it's technically in Pennsylvania, the site is closely tied to the history and environment of nearby Columbiana County, Ohio, making it a shared landmark of sorts between the two states. In the mid-1800s, Watts Mill grew around a water-powered grist mill and sawmill built along Little Beaver Creek. It served local farmers and loggers, using the strong current to turn massive wheels that ground grain and cut timber. A few homes and outbuildings surrounded the mill, forming a small working community. The town thrived for a short time, but like many mill towns, it depended entirely on the industry. As technology advanced and steam-powered machines became more efficient, the need for water-powered mills faded. Flooding and erosion in the area also made it hard to maintain the mill infrastructure. By the early 1900s, the mills had shut down, and the community was abandoned. Today, Watts Mill is a peaceful spot in the woods. If you hike along the trails near Little Beaver Creek, you can still see the remains of the old water wheel lying on its side in the creek bed. Stone foundations and bits of iron machinery are scattered nearby, slowly being taken back by nature. The forest is quiet, and unless you know what you're looking for, you might walk right past it. The original mill wheel at Watts Mill was one of the few side-lying water wheels in the region, a rare engineering feature for the time. Today, it's considered a hidden gem for hikers and history lovers visiting Beaver Creek State Park. The park even has a small display sign for visitors who stumble upon the site during their walk. Number 6. Sprucevale, Columbiana County. Sprucevale is located within Beaver Creek State Park in Columbiana County. It's just south of East Liverpool, along the path of the old Sandy and Beaver Canal. Sprucevale was a canal town, built in the 1830s to support the growing Sandy and Beaver Canal system. The town had a mill, a few homes, and a general store, serving as a key stop for boats traveling along the canal. It thrived for about 2 decades, with the canal bringing commerce and people through the area. But things didn't last long. The canal was poorly constructed and frequently flooded. By the 1850s, the canal was abandoned, and without it, the town had no reason to survive. Residents moved away, and Sprucevale faded into the woods. Today, Sprucevale is part of Beaver Creek State Park, and while no full buildings remain, you can still see the stone ruins of Loch 41, known to visitors as Gretchen's Loch. It's one of the most visited and talked about ghost sites in the state. Nearby, you can find the remnants of the mill foundation and hints of old paths once used by townsfolk and travelers. Sprucevale is home to one of Ohio's most enduring ghost stories. According to legend, a girl named Gretchen Gill, the daughter of a canal engineer, died of malaria while living in Sprucevale. Her father had her body placed in a coffin and stored near the canal, hoping to send it back to Europe. But the body was never shipped, and the girl was buried near Loch 41. Locals claim to hear whispers and see shadows near the loch, and some even believe they've seen Gretchen's ghost walking the towpath at night. Number 5. Wonderland, Franklin County. What if a whole neighborhood was planned, roads were built, and people moved in, only for the entire project to vanish before it was finished? That's exactly what happened in a place called Wonderland. Wonderland sat along Big Walnut Creek just outside Gahanna in Franklin County, near the junction of Interstate 270 and Hamilton Road. In the 1920s, Wonderland was created as a private lake resort community. Developers laid out the roads, built several homes, and even added a small amusement park to attract visitors. The goal was to turn it into a relaxing getaway near the water, where people from nearby cities could build vacation cottages or settle down away from the noise. At first, things went well. Families moved in, and the area developed a small, tight-knit community. But as time passed, the project stalled. Legal issues, ownership disputes, and trouble with water rights began to pile up. In the early 1970s, Port Columbus International Airport announced an extension of its north runway. To keep the flight path clear, the airport authority bought out the remaining Wonderland residents and cleared most of the houses. Today, Wonderland is mostly forgotten. The streets are still there, paved and named, but many of them lead to empty lots, crumbling foundations, or land overtaken by trees. A few original homes still stand, but they've been swallowed up by nature or repurposed. The only active building left from the original town is a church, which locals still use today. Everything else feels quiet and frozen in time. Despite being nearly empty, Wonderland still appears in property records as a residential community. It even has a ghostly presence on Google Maps, where you can see the street names of a town that never truly came to life. It's one of the rare cases in Ohio where a partially built neighborhood became a modern ghost town, not because it failed to start, but because it couldn't finish. Number 4. Vinton Furnace, Vinton County. Deep in the forests of southern Ohio, there's a place where massive stone ovens once lit up the night sky with fire and smoke. Now, it's almost completely silent, except for the crunch of leaves under your feet. This is what's left of Vinton Furnace. Vinton Furnace is located in Vinton County, within the Vinton Furnace State Experimental Forest. The site lies southeast of MacArthur, tucked deep in a remote stretch of woodland. Vinton Furnace was one of many iron-producing towns that popped up in the Hanging Rock Iron region during the mid-19th centuries. Established around 1854, it was built to support a large blast furnace that turned raw iron ore into pig iron, which was then shipped out for use in railroads, bridges, and buildings across the country. At its peak, the furnace was surrounded by a full industrial village, including worker cabins, a blacksmith shop, a company store, and even its own post office. Immigrants and local workers came to earn a living in the booming iron industry. But by the 1880s, the iron business in southern Ohio had started to slow down. Other parts of the country had better resources, and newer technology made many of these furnaces obsolete. Vinton Furnace shut down and was eventually abandoned. Today, the site of Vinton Furnace is hidden deep in protected forest land. What's left are the massive stone remnants of the original furnace stack, moss-covered coke ovens, and scattered stone walls that once supported the village. Nature has reclaimed much of the area, and it now serves as part of a state research forest. Visitors can hike into the site, but it's not easily accessible, and most people have no idea it's there. The coke ovens at Vinton Furnace are some of the last of their kind in Ohio. These ovens were used to convert wood into coke, a key fuel for smelting iron. The design of the ovens is unique, and historians consider them an important piece of industrial archaeology. It's one of the most remote and untouched ghost towns in the state, a place where the past is quietly rusting in the woods. Number 3. Utopia, Claremont County. Utopia is located along the northern bank of the Ohio River in Claremont County, about 30 miles southeast of Cincinnati. It sits just off U.S. Route 52, near the village of Higginsport. Utopia was founded in 1844 by followers of Charles Fourier, a French philosopher who promoted communal living and shared labor. The original settlers believed they could build a perfect society, free from greed and inequality. They laid out the town in a grid, shared everything they owned, and followed strict rules to maintain harmony. But the dream fell apart quickly. Disagreements among members and financial problems led many to leave within the first year. Then, in 1847, a new group of spiritualists, led by John O. Wattles, moved in and took over the settlement. They believed in holding seances and communicating with the dead. To protect themselves from the Ohio River's frequent flooding, they built a large communal hall right next to the river, raised on stone. In December of that same year, just days after moving in, a massive flood struck the area. The river swelled far beyond expectations, swept through the hall during a community gathering, and many people inside were killed. The survivors left shortly after, and the town never recovered. Today, Utopia is barely more than a curve in the road. A few houses still remain in the area, and some people live nearby, but the original settlement is long gone. Foundations of old buildings are buried under soil or hidden in the brush near the riverbank. There are no big signs or markers, just whispers of what once was. Some say the land still carries an eerie energy. Over the years, people have reported strange sensations while walking near the river. A few have even claimed to see lights or hear voices at night. Whether you believe in spirits or not, the story of Utopia is a haunting reminder that even the most idealistic visions can end in heartbreak. Number 2. Moonville, Vinton County. Moonville is located deep within the Zaleski State Forest in Vinton County, southeast Ohio. It lies near Hope Moonville Road, about 5 miles from Lake Hope State Park. Moonville was founded in the 1850s, when the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad built a line through the area to transport coal and clay. The town sprang up around a small mining operation and quickly grew to include homes, a general store, a school, and a saloon. Because the only way in or out was via the train line, residents had to walk directly along the tracks to reach neighboring towns. This created a deadly situation. Over the decades, more than 20 people were reportedly killed by trains on the tracks near Moonville, many of them while walking at night through the dense woods or the dark, narrow tunnel. By the early 1900s, the mines dried up, and like many single-industry towns, Moonville began to disappear. The last families moved out in the 1940s, and eventually, the railroad shut down in the 1980s. Today, the Moonville Tunnel still stands, and it's become one of the most visited ghost town sites in Ohio. The tunnel, made of brick and surrounded by thick forest, is accessible by hiking trails. Most of the town's buildings are long gone, but the railroad bed and the tunnel remain, along with a small nearby cemetery. Moonville is best known for its ghost stories. The most famous is the legend of the ghostly brakeman, a railroad worker who supposedly died on the tracks near the tunnel. Visitors claim to see a figure holding a lantern, or feel sudden cold spots near the entrance. Other stories mention the spirit of a young girl, a miner, and even a woman searching for her lost child. Whether these are real or just echoes of tragic history, Moonville has earned its reputation as one of the most haunted places in Ohio. Number 1. Helltown, Summit County. It's the most infamous ghost town in all of Ohio. Helltown is the nickname given to the northern part of Boston Township in Summit County, within the boundaries of what is now Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It's located near the town of Peninsula, about 30 minutes south of Cleveland. In the 1970s, the U.S. government began buying up land in this area under the National Park Service's new initiative to create Cuyahoga Valley National Recreation Area. Entire neighborhoods were evacuated, homes were boarded up, and no trespassing signs went up all over the place. The official reason was to preserve natural land for public use. But the sudden way it all happened, with families forced to leave quickly, and houses left standing but empty, gave birth to a wave of urban legends. With entire streets cleared out and no clear explanation shared locally, people began to speculate. And that's when the name Helltown stuck. Most of the abandoned houses were eventually demolished, and the land is now part of the national park. Still, if you drive through certain parts, especially near Stanford Road and the area known as Boston Mills, you'll notice strange things: roads that suddenly end, blocked paths, and empty clearings where something clearly used to be. Visitors report an eerie quiet, especially in the evenings. Helltown is surrounded by some of the wildest legends in Ohio folklore. People talk about a haunted school bus left behind by a cult, a crybaby bridge where strange sounds echo at night, and even tales of mutated creatures supposedly released after a government chemical spill. While there's no real evidence for these stories, they've taken on a life of their own, and the name Helltown continues to attract ghost hunters and curious explorers from all over. Despite the myths, what's real is unsettling enough. Whole communities were emptied, their histories erased almost overnight. And in the silence that followed, the stories only grew louder. If you have liked this video, don't forget to share it with your friends and family.